Princess Hana stood on the crystal balcony of her tower room, looking down at the busy streets of Vorthak Prime. The blue sun was setting, making the glass buildings shine like diamonds. She pressed her pale hand against the cold window and sighed. Tomorrow would bring another suitor, and she already knew she would send him away just like all the others. The Vorthak people had skin like blue glass that you could almost see through. They were tall and thin, with silver hair that moved like water. But what made them special was their minds. Every Vorthak could read thoughts and feelings from other people. It was a gift that helped them build the greatest empire in the galaxy. For Princess Hana, this gift felt more like a curse. She walked back into her room and sat at her silver desk. On it was a pile of letters from princes, kings, and rich merchants from across the stars. Each one wanted to marry her. Each one thought they could win her heart with gold, armies, or sweet words. But Hana could see into their minds. She knew what they really wanted. The door to her room opened with a soft sound. Emperor Taman walked in, his long robes flowing behind him. His face showed the worry that had been growing for months. "My daughter," he said, sitting in the chair across from her. "We need to talk about Prince Wanbin. He arrives tomorrow with gifts from the Stellar Federation." Hana looked at her father with tired eyes. "I already know what he wants, father. His mind is full of plans to use our empire's power for his own wars. He does not care about me or our people." Emperor Taman rubbed his forehead. "Hana, you have rejected 47 suitors in 3 years. The Galactic Council is losing patience. They say we are too proud, that we think we are better than everyone else." "Maybe we are better," Hana said quietly. "At least we are honest about what we want." Her father stood up and walked to the window. "The Council threatens to cut trade with us. Without their ships and money, our empire will grow weak. Other enemies will see this weakness and attack us." Hana felt her father's mind. She could see his real worry. He loved her, but he also loved their people. A political marriage could keep the empire safe and strong. But forcing his daughter to marry someone she did not love would break his heart. "Give me more time," Hana said. "Maybe the right person will come." Emperor Taman turned back to her. His silver eyes were sad. "Time is something we do not have much of. Your 25th birthday is in 4 months. The old laws say you must marry before then, or I must choose for you." After her father left, Hana walked through the empty halls of the palace. The walls were made of living crystal that glowed softly in the dark, beautiful but cold, just like her life. She thought about the suitors she had met. Prince Dowan from the Fireworlds had seemed kind at first, but his mind was full of anger and dreams of burning his enemies. General Minhyuk from the Warfleet acted brave, but she could feel his fear and his need to prove himself by owning her. Ambassador Chanwu spoke of peace, but his thoughts were all about the money he could make from their marriage. None of them saw her as a person. They saw a prize to be won. In the lower levels of the palace, far below where any royal person would go, the human workers were finishing their day. There were only 20 humans in the palace, brought in to clean and fix things. Other species did not like working with humans because humans had no mind powers. They could not read thoughts or move things with their minds. This made other aliens think humans were simple and boring. But to the Vorthak royals, this was perfect. Humans could work around them without knowing their private thoughts. They were invisible, which made them safe. Jiho was the last human still working. He was cleaning the crystal floors of the main hall with careful, slow movements. His hands were rough from work, but his movements were gentle. He treated each crystal tile like it was precious. Jiho was not tall or handsome like the alien princes. His hair was black and messy from work. His clothes were simple and clean, but there was something in his dark eyes that was different. When he worked, he smiled. When he looked at the beautiful palace around him, he seemed happy just to be there. The other human workers thought Jiho was strange. Minho and Dohyun often complained about how the aliens treated them. Kyung was always angry about their small pay and hard work, but Jiho never complained. "Why do you care so much about cleaning?" Minho had asked him once. "They do not even see us. We are nothing to them." "Every job has honor if you do it well," Jiho had answered. "A person's worth does not come from what others think of them." Now, as Jiho finished cleaning the Great Hall, he looked up at the crystal ceiling. Through it, he could see the stars. Somewhere up there were the worlds where humans came from. Most humans in the galaxy were poor and had to work hard jobs like this one. But Jiho believed that being human was not something to be ashamed of. He picked up his cleaning tools and walked toward the storage room. Tomorrow he would wake up early and start again. The palace would need cleaning and he would make sure it was perfect. High above him, Princess Hana sat by her window, looking at the same stars. She did not know that somewhere below her was a person who could change everything, a person whose mind she could not read, whose heart held the kind of truth she had been looking for all her life. Tomorrow would bring another suitor, another rejection, and another step closer to a marriage she did not want. But tomorrow would also bring something else. Something that would start when a princess and a cleaner met in the most unexpected way. Jiho woke up before the first sun rose over Vorthak Prime. His room was small and simple with just a bed, a desk, and a few books. The books were old and worn from reading. They were about history, philosophy, and the art of leadership. While other workers spent their free time complaining or playing games, Jiho read. He believed that knowledge was the only thing no one could take away from you. After washing and dressing in his clean work clothes, Jiho went to the storage room to get his supplies. The palace was huge, with hundreds of rooms spread across 50 floors. Each floor was made of different colored crystal that caught the light in beautiful ways. Another day of making the rich aliens happy, Min-hyuk said as he passed Jiho in the hallway. He was carrying a broken light fixture to be repaired. Another day of honest work. Jiho replied with a smile. Min-hyuk shook his head. You are too good for this place, Jiho. We all are. But Jiho did not feel too good for anything. He had learned long ago that pride was a dangerous thing. Better to do your work well and find peace in small things. He started his day in the lower halls where visiting aliens stayed when they came to see the Emperor. Today those halls would be busy because Prince Wanbin had arrived in the night with his huge ship and hundreds of servants. As Jiho cleaned, he listened to the talk around him. The alien servants were excited. They spoke of the prince's great wealth and his powerful army. They were sure this time Princess Hana would say yes. But Jiho had worked in the palace for 2 years. He had seen many princes come and go. He had also seen Princess Hana a few times from far away. She always looked sad, even when she was supposed to be happy. This made Jiho think about what he had read in his books about leadership and power. True leaders, the book said, cared more about their people than about being liked or getting more power. They made hard choices to help others, even when it cost them something. Maybe Princess Hana was making a hard choice too. Late in the afternoon, Jiho was assigned to clean the upper floors where the royal family lived. This was unusual. Most of the time, only special cleaning robots were allowed in those areas. But today all the robots were being used for Prince Wanbin's visit. Jiho took the crystal elevator up 50 floors. When the doors opened, he stepped into a world he had never seen before. The walls here were made of living crystal that changed colors with the light. The floors were smooth as mirrors. Everything was beautiful beyond imagination. But it was also very quiet, too quiet. As Jiho worked his way through the halls, he could hear voices from the main meeting room. He tried not to listen, but the sounds carried through the crystal walls. My armies could protect your empire from any enemy, a strong male voice was saying. This had to be Prince Wanbin. Your offer is generous, came Emperor Taemin's careful reply. But my daughter must make her own choice. Of course, Prince Wanbin said, but his voice sounded like he was not used to people saying no to him. I am sure she will see the wisdom of our alliance. Jiho moved away from the voices and continued cleaning. It was not his place to listen to royal business. He was working near a private garden when he heard a different sound. Someone was crying. Jiho stopped cleaning and looked around. The sound was coming from behind some tall crystal trees in the garden. He knew he should leave. This was private royal space and he could get in serious trouble for being here, but the crying sounded so sad and lonely. Jiho set down his tools and walked quietly toward the sound. Behind the trees, he found a young woman sitting on a crystal bench. Her head was in her hands and her shoulders shook with quiet sobs. She was wearing simple clothes, not the fancy robes he expected from a royal person. Her hair was long and silver, but it was not styled in the complicated way he had seen on other Vorthak nobles. She looked like she might be a servant or worker, though her skin had the blue glass look of the Vorthak people. Jiho had never been good at walking away from someone who needed help. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. The woman looked up, and Jiho felt his breath catch. Her eyes were the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. They were silver like starlight, but filled with such sadness that it made his heart hurt. She stared at him for a moment, surprised. You are human." "Yes," Jiho said. "I work here. I clean the palace." He pulled a clean cloth from his pocket and offered it to her. "You look like you have had a bad day." She took the cloth and wiped her eyes. "Thank you. You are very kind." Jiho sat down on the grass near the bench, but not too close. He did not want to make her uncomfortable. "Sometimes talking to a stranger can help. I am a good listener." The woman looked at him with those silver eyes. She seemed to be thinking about something important. Finally, she said, "Do you believe people should marry for love or for duty?" Jiho thought about this. It was not a simple question. "I think," he said slowly, "that the best marriages have both. But if I had to choose just one, I would choose love. Duty without love makes people bitter. Love without duty makes people weak. But love with duty, that can change the world." "What if duty and love cannot exist together?" she asked. "What if choosing love means letting down everyone who depends on you?" Jiho picked up a small crystal that had fallen from one of the trees. He turned it in his hands, watching how it caught the light. "I have read many books about leadership," he said. "The best leaders I have read about were those who found a way to serve their people and still be true to themselves. It is not easy, but it is possible." "You read books about leadership?" The woman sounded surprised. Jiho smiled. "Just because I clean floors does not mean I cannot think about big ideas. Some of the wisest people in history started with very simple jobs. They talked as the suns set over the palace." Jiho found that this woman was easy to talk to. She listened to his ideas about honor, duty, and what made a person truly noble. She asked good questions that made him think harder about his answers. When it grew dark, Jiho stood up. "I should go back to my work, but I hope tomorrow is better for you." "What is your name?" she asked. "Jiho. And you?" She hesitated for just a moment. "Nari. My name is Nari." As Jiho walked back toward the elevator, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt like he had met someone who understood him, someone who cared about the same things he cared about. He did not know that the woman calling herself Nari was really Princess Hana. He did not know that she was sitting in that garden because she had just rejected another suitor. He did not know that for the first time in her life, she had met someone whose thoughts she could not read. And Princess Hana did not know that the kind human who had listened to her problems was about to change everything she thought she knew about love, leadership, and what made a person truly royal. Princess Hana could not stop thinking about the human named Jiho. For 3 days after their meeting in the garden, she found herself looking for him in every hallway and room of the palace. But the royal floors were huge, and the human workers only came to certain areas when needed. She had never felt this way before. Usually when she met someone new, their thoughts flooded into her mind right away. She would know if they were greedy, scared, angry, or fake. But with Jiho, there had been only silence. For the first time in her life, she had to judge someone by their words and actions instead of their thoughts. And what she had learned was wonderful. On the 4th day, Princess Hana made a decision that shocked her royal guards. She put on the simple brown robes that servants wore and told everyone she was going to the lower levels to check on the palace workers. This was something no royal had ever done before. "Princess, this is not proper," said Captain Suho, the head of her guard. "Royal family members do not visit the servant areas." "Then it is time for things to change," Princess Hana replied. "How can we rule people we do not understand?" She left her guards behind and took the crystal elevator down to the worker levels. The halls here were different from the royal floors. They were clean but simple, made of plain stone instead of crystal. The lights were white instead of the soft colors of the upper palace. Princess Hana walked through the halls looking for Jiho. She passed human workers carrying tools and supplies. They looked at her strangely because they had never seen a Vorthak person in their area before. but they were too polite to ask questions. Finally, she found him in a storage room, checking supplies and making notes on a data pad. He was counting cleaning chemicals and making sure everything was organized perfectly. "Excuse me?" she said from the doorway. Jiho looked up and his face lit up with a happy smile. "Nari, what are you doing down here?" Princess Hana had practiced her story. I work in the upper levels now, taking care of the royal rooms. I was looking for extra supplies. It was not exactly a lie. She did take care of royal rooms in a way. That is wonderful, Jiho said. Moving up in the palace is not easy. You must be very good at your work. He showed her around the storage area, explaining how everything was organized. Princess Hana was amazed by how much he cared about details. Every tool had its place. Every supply was counted and labeled. He treated the storage room like it was as important as a throne room. "Why do you care so much about organizing supplies?" she asked. Jiho thought about this. "I believe that small things matter as much as big things. If you cannot take care of small responsibilities, how can anyone trust you with big ones? A king who cannot organize his own room cannot organize a kingdom." Princess Hana felt her heart beat faster. You think about kings and kingdoms a lot for someone who works in storage. "I think everyone should think about leadership," Jiho said. "We all lead something, even if it is just our own lives. And good leadership starts with understanding that serving others is more important than being served." They began meeting every day. Princess Hana would make excuses to visit the lower levels, and Jiho would always have time to talk with her. Sometimes they talked while he worked. Sometimes they sat in quiet corners during his break time. Princess Hana learned that Jiho had grown up in the outer colonies, where humans worked hard jobs to survive. His parents had died when he was young, and he had been raised by their friends who taught him to read and think about important ideas. "My father always said that being born in a palace does not make you royal," Jiho told her one day. "Being royal comes from how you treat people who cannot do anything for you." "That is very wise," Princess Hana said. "Your father sounds like he was a good man." "He was. He taught me that true strength comes from helping others become strong too." Princess Hana found herself falling in love with Jiho's mind first, then his heart. He was kind to everyone, from the newest worker to the oldest maintenance robot. He never complained about hard work or long hours. When other workers had problems, they came to Jiho for advice. But the most amazing thing was how he talked about leadership and responsibility. He understood things about ruling that many princes and kings never learned. He believed that a leader's job was to make life better for their people, not to make their own life easier. Meanwhile, the pressure on Princess Hana was getting worse. Prince Wanbin had been rejected, but 3 new suitors had arrived. Emperor Taemin was getting daily messages from the Galactic Council. They were angry that Princess Hana kept saying no to powerful marriage offers. "The council is threatening to remove our trade agreements," Emperor Taemin told her during a private dinner. "Without those agreements, our people will lose their jobs. Other empires will see us as weak and might attack." Princess Hana felt sick. "Father, I cannot marry someone I do not love. Every suitor we have met wants to use our empire for their own plans." "Then find someone you can love," her father said tiredly, "because I am running out of time to protect you from a forced marriage." That night, Princess Hana made another dangerous decision. She met Jiho in the garden where they had first talked, and she told him everything. "Well, almost everything. Nari, there is something I need to tell you," she said. "I am not really a servant. I am Princess Hana." Jiho stared at her with wide eyes. "You are the princess? The Princess Hana?" "Yes, I know I lied to you, and I am sorry. But I needed to know what it felt like to be treated like a normal person instead of a royal prize." Jiho was quiet for a long time. Princess Hana could see him thinking hard about this news. Finally, he said, "Why are you telling me now?" "Because my father is going to force me to marry someone soon. And because—" She took a deep breath. "Because I have fallen in love with you." Jiho looked up at the stars through the crystal ceiling. "Princess, I'm just a human worker. You are the most important person in the galaxy. What you are talking about is impossible." "Is it?" Princess Hana asked. "You have taught me more about leadership in these few weeks than all my royal teachers taught me in years. You have shown me what it means to find honor in service. You understand what makes a person truly noble. But your father would never accept a human husband for you. Your people would never accept a cleaner as their future leader." Princess Hana grabbed his hands. "Then help me run away. We can leave the palace and start a new life somewhere else. But Jiho shook his head. That would be wrong. Your people need you. Running away from responsibility is not what good leaders do. Then what do we do? Princess Hana asked, tears in her eyes. Jiho thought for a moment. Then he said something that surprised them both. I will ask your father for permission to court you. Princess Hana stared at him. Jiho, that is crazy. He will laugh at you. The whole court will laugh at you. Maybe, Jiho said calmly. But if you believe that true worth comes from character instead of birth, then your father should be willing to judge me fairly. And if he is not willing to do that, then maybe he is not the wise ruler you think he is. Princess Hana felt fear and hope fighting in her heart. What Jiho was suggesting was incredibly brave and incredibly dangerous, but it was also the most honest thing anyone had ever offered to do for her. Are you sure? She whispered. Jiho smiled and squeezed her hands. I have never been more sure of anything in my life. The throne room of Emperor Taemin had never been so quiet. Jiho stood in the center of the huge crystal chamber, wearing his best work clothes, which were still simple and plain compared to the rich robes of the nobles around him. Every eye in the room was staring at him with shock, anger, or amusement. Emperor Taemin sat on his crystal throne, his silver eyes cold and hard. Next to him stood Princess Hana, her face pale but determined. Around the room, the three remaining suitors watched with interest. Prince Wanbin had returned with even more gifts. General Sunho had brought promises of military protection. Ambassador Hyunwoo offered trade deals worth billions of credits. And then there was Jiho, a human janitor who owned nothing but his few books and his honest work. Let me understand this correctly, Emperor Taemin said, his voice echoing in the crystal chamber. You, a human cleaning worker, are asking for permission to court my daughter, the princess of the Vorthak Empire. Yes, your majesty, Jiho said calmly. I am. Laughter erupted from some of the nobles. Prince Wanbin shook his head like he was watching something too foolish to believe. General Sunho whispered something to his guards that made them smile, but Emperor Taemin did not laugh. He studied Jiho with the careful eyes of a ruler who had learned to judge people quickly and accurately. And why? The emperor asked. Should I even consider such a request? Jiho had prepared for this question. Because your majesty believes in justice and wisdom. Because the happiness of Princess Hana matters more to you than political convenience. And because true leadership means being willing to look beyond tradition when tradition no longer serves the people. The laughter stopped. Even the nobles who had been mocking Jiho seemed surprised by his answer. Emperor Taemin leaned forward on his throne. You speak of leadership as if you understand it. But what could a human worker know about ruling an empire? I know that a leader serves the people, not the other way around, Jiho replied. I know that making hard choices for the good of others is more important than making easy choices for yourself. I know that real strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. Princess Hana stepped forward. Father, if you will not listen to Jiho's words, then judge him by his actions. Give him the same chance you would give any other suitor. Prince Wanbin laughed out loud. Princess, surely you are joking. This person has no army, no money, no power. What could he possibly offer you or your empire? Everything that you cannot, Princess Hana said firmly. Honesty, wisdom, and a heart that puts others before himself. General Sunho stepped forward, his military decorations shining on his chest. Your Majesty, this is getting ridiculous. We are wasting time on a servant when there are real threats to your empire. The outer colonies are growing restless. Pirates attack your trade ships. You need allies with strong armies, not silly romantic dreams. Ambassador Hyunwoo nodded in agreement. The Galactic Council grows impatient. If Princess Hana does not marry soon, they may decide that the Vorthak Empire is too unstable to do business with. Economic isolation would hurt your people far more than any military attack. Emperor Taemin felt the weight of these problems pressing down on him. The noble suitors were right about the dangers facing his empire, but he also saw something in his daughter's eyes that he had never seen before. Hope. Real, honest hope. Father, Princess Hana said quietly, you have always taught me that our family's greatest strength is our ability to see truth in people's hearts. I am asking you to use that strength now. The emperor stood up from his throne and walked down the crystal steps until he was standing directly in front of Jiho. The human did not back away or look down. He met the emperor's gaze with respect but not fear. You are asking me to risk everything, Emperor Taemin said. My daughter's future, my empire's safety, my people's trust. What makes you think you are worth such a risk? Jiho thought carefully before answering. Your Majesty, I am not asking you to risk anything. I am asking you to test me. If I am not worthy of Princess Hana, let me prove my unworthiness through fair trials. But if I am worthy, then let me prove that too. The Emperor's eyes showed a spark of interest. What kind of trials? The ancient trials, Princess Hana said suddenly. The trial of 3 crowns that our ancestors used to test future rulers. Wisdom, courage, and leadership. A gasp went through the room. The trial of 3 crowns had not been used for hundreds of years. It was considered too dangerous and too difficult for modern times. Prince Wanbin stepped forward angrily. Your Majesty, surely you cannot be serious. The trials are meant for trained nobles, not for... He looked at Jiho with disgust. This. Are you afraid of competing with a janitor? Jiho asked calmly. Prince Wanbin's face turned red. I fear nothing from you, human. Then you should have no problem proving it, Jiho replied. General Sunho drew himself up to his full height. If we are doing these trials, then I demand to participate as well. I will not have my honor questioned by refusing a challenge from a servant. Ambassador Hyunwoo looked less eager, but he nodded too. Very well. If this is what it takes to end this foolishness, then let us get it over with. Emperor Taemin looked around the room. His advisors were shaking their heads, clearly thinking this was a terrible idea. The nobles were either excited to see Jiho humiliated or worried about what would happen if the trials actually took place. But Princess Hana was looking at her father with complete trust. She believed he would make the right choice. Very well, Emperor Taemin announced. In 1 week, all 4 suitors will face the trial of 3 crowns. The trial of wisdom will test their ability to solve complex problems and make difficult decisions. The trial of courage will test their bravery and determination in the face of danger. The trial of leadership will test their ability to guide and inspire others. He paused and looked directly at Jiho. But understand this, human. These trials are not games. They are real tests that have killed people in the past. They will push you beyond anything you have ever experienced. Are you certain you want to do this? Jiho felt his heart beating fast, but his voice was steady. I am certain, Your Majesty. Then it is decided, the Emperor declared. 1 week from today we will discover who is truly worthy to marry my daughter, and one day help rule this empire. As the court began to break up, the 3 noble suitors gathered together, talking in low voices about strategy and preparation. They had resources, training, and experience that Jiho could never match. But as Jiho walked back toward the elevator that would take him to the worker levels, he felt something that surprised him. He felt calm. For the first time in his life, he was going to have a chance to prove that being human did not mean being weak or simple or unworthy. He was going to show the galaxy what humans could really do when they had something worth fighting for. Princess Hana watched him go, her heart full of fear and pride. In 1 week she would know if the man she loved was strong enough to stand beside her as an equal. But even if he failed, she would always remember that he had been brave enough to try. The trials would test more than just the suitors. They would test everything the Vorthak Empire believed about power, worth, and what made someone fit to rule. The first trial began at dawn in the Great Crystal Amphitheater. Thousands of Vorthak citizens had gathered to watch, along with representatives from across the galaxy. News of a human janitor challenging royal princes had spread quickly through the star systems. Emperor Taemin sat on a raised platform with Princess Hana beside him. She tried to look calm, but her hands were shaking. Below them, the 4 suitors stood at separate tables equipped with computer systems and holographic displays. The trial of wisdom begins now, announced the royal judge. Each candidate will face 3 problems that test their ability to make decisions that affect millions of lives. You have 2 hours. The first problem appeared on their screens. A colony world was running out of food because of crop failure. The planet had valuable minerals that other worlds wanted, but mining them would destroy the environment forever. 5 different solutions were offered, each with serious consequences. Prince Wanbin immediately chose to mine the minerals and use the money to buy food from other worlds. It was fast and would solve the immediate problem, but it would leave the planet ruined. General Sunho chose to use military force to take food from nearby worlds. It would feed the hungry people quickly, but it would also start wars. Ambassador Hyunwoo chose to negotiate complex trade deals that would provide food slowly over many years. It was safe for his own reputation, but many people would starve while waiting. Jiho studied the problem for a long time. Finally, he chose a combination approach: emergency food aid for immediate help, followed by teaching the colonists new farming methods that worked better with their soil, and setting up trade relationships that would help them in the long term without destroying their world. The judges noted his answer and moved to the second problem. A group of rebels was causing trouble in a distant system. They claimed the local government was unfair, but stopping them might require hurting innocent people. Again, the noble suitors chose quick, forceful solutions. Jiho chose to send investigators to learn if the rebels' complaints were true and to fix any real problems while stopping only the actual criminals. The third problem was the hardest. A deadly disease was spreading through several worlds. There was medicine, but not enough for everyone. Who should get it first? The nobles chose to save the richest people first, or the most important leaders or the strongest warriors. Jiho chose to save the doctors and teachers first, so they could help save and teach others. When the results were announced, the crowd gasped. Jiho had scored higher than all three nobles. His solutions showed deeper thinking and more concern for long-term consequences. Prince Wanbin's face was red with anger. "This is impossible." "He is just a worker. He has no training in government or politics." But the judges had been fair and the scores were clear. The second trial was held in a dangerous obstacle course that tested courage and quick thinking. The candidates had to cross deadly gaps, avoid energy weapons, and solve puzzles while under pressure. Prince Wanbin used expensive equipment and hired helpers to get through the course. General Sunho relied on his military training and advanced armor. Ambassador Hyunwoo moved slowly and carefully, avoiding risks. Jiho had no special equipment or training, but he had something else. He was not afraid to fail. When he reached a gap too wide to jump, he found another way around. When energy blast blocked his path, he used broken pieces of the course itself as shields. When puzzles seemed impossible, he kept trying different solutions until something worked. The nobles finished the course faster because of their advantages, but they had all needed help or special equipment. Jiho finished last, but he had done it completely on his own, using only his mind and determination. The judges ruled that courage meant more than just speed or fancy tools. It meant facing challenges without giving up even when everything seemed hopeless. The crowd was getting excited now. The human was not just lucky. He was actually competing with princes and generals and winning. The third trial was the most important: leadership. Each candidate was given control of a computer simulation of a struggling colony world for 30 days. They had to improve the lives of the colonists, deal with problems, and show how they would really govern. For a month, everyone watched as the simulations played out on giant screens above the amphitheater. Prince Wanbin focused on building monuments and impressive buildings. He wanted the colony to look rich and powerful, but he did not spend much money on schools or hospitals. When problems came up, he made quick decisions without asking anyone else for advice. General Sunho turned the colony into a military base. Everyone had jobs and discipline, but no one had freedom to choose their own lives. He solved problems with force and punishment. Ambassador Hyunwoo spent most of his time in meetings and negotiations. He made sure everyone was consulted before any decision, but this meant that simple problems took forever to solve. While he was still talking, people were suffering. Jiho's approach was different. He spent his first week just listening to the colonists and learning about their real problems. Then he worked with them to find solutions that they could support and maintain themselves. He built schools and hospitals first, then worked on making the economy strong. When crises happened, he made quick decisions but always explained his reasons to the people. By the end of the month, Prince Wanbin's colony looked impressive, but had many unhappy people. General Sunho's colony was orderly but felt like a prison. Ambassador Hyunwoo's colony was still trying to decide what to do about basic problems. Jiho's colony was not the prettiest or the most organized, but the people were happy, healthy, and working together to build their own future. When the final scores were announced, the amphitheater fell completely silent. Jiho had won all 3 trials. Emperor Taemin stood up slowly. His face showed amazement and something else: respect. "Citizens of the Vorthak Empire," he announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the amphitheater. "The trials have given us a clear answer. The human Jiho has proven himself worthy of my daughter's hand in marriage." The crowd erupted. Some people cheered, some people shouted in anger, and some people just stared in shock. A human janitor had defeated royal princes in fair competition. But before Emperor Taman could continue, one of his advisors rushed to his side and whispered something urgent in his ear. The Emperor's eyes went wide. "There is one more thing," Emperor Taman announced, his voice now carrying a different tone. "Our investigation into Jiho's background has revealed something extraordinary." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the amphitheater. It showed old records, family trees, and genetic data. "This man is not just a janitor," the Emperor said. "He is Prince Jiho, the lost heir of the destroyed kingdom of New Terra. His parents were King Seokjin and Queen Yuna, who died defending their people 20 years ago. He was thought to be dead, but he survived and has been living in exile, choosing to work as a servant rather than claim his royal heritage." The crowd gasped again. Princess Hana stared at Jiho with wide eyes. This explained so much. His natural wisdom, his understanding of leadership, his quiet dignity. But Jiho himself looked surprised and confused. "Your Majesty, I did not know. My parents died when I was young. I was told they were simple colonists." "They hid your identity to protect you," Emperor Taman explained. "But the genetic records do not lie. You are not just worthy of my daughter because of your character, though that would be enough. You are worthy because you are both a true leader and a true prince." Prince Wanbin, General Sunho, and Ambassador Hyunwoo looked defeated and embarrassed. They had been outmatched by someone they thought was beneath them. Princess Hana walked down from the platform and took Jiho's hands. "I fell in love with a janitor," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But I would be proud to marry a king." Jiho looked into her silver eyes and smiled. "I will always remember that I was a janitor first. It taught me that true nobility comes from service, not from birth." The wedding of Princess Hana and King Jiho became the most celebrated event in galactic history. It marked the beginning of a new age where humans were seen as equals, where character mattered more than bloodlines, and where true leadership meant serving others instead of ruling over them. And in the palace of the Vorthak Empire, King Jiho still cleaned his own quarters every morning, keeping his promise to never forget where he came from, or what really made a person royal. The human janitor had become a king, but more importantly, he had shown the galaxy that humans had always been worthy of respect. They just needed someone brave enough to prove it.